Hey guys, it's Kris Jones, episode 38 of Ask Me Anything. First, episode 40 is coming up, and as you guys that have been following my Ask Me Anything series know, I like to kind of go outside of format for every 10 episodes. You know, I see other things going on. I see Gary Vaynerchuk out there, interviewing like Ja Rule and like Kim Kardashian. That's interesting. I've watched some of those interviews. I actually like them. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because in a couple videos, I will experiment with format and/or interview series. So if you guys have any suggestions for me, a certain person that you would like to see me interview or a certain format, I'm willing to take on that challenge, but I need your participation. So give me some feedback on that. This is only video 38, so we have a couple of days here, but I'm looking for your suggestions. So we're going to follow the traditional Q&A format today. In a video, it was like 2 or 3 videos ago, I answered a question from Sean Daney around time management and productivity. And sorry about the muffled mic on that one, but one of the comments that Catherine Schaefer made, which I thought was appropriate to bring up, because I actually have very, very intensely strong feelings about this, is she said, I agree with so much of what you're saying. I would add that you need to schedule decompress time, time to breathe, time to think. And Catherine, I couldn't agree with you more. So guys, personal and professional development is about balance. Success isn't about the stereotypical things that are mostly driven by material possessions and money. Success is really about abundance. It's about contribution, and it's about happiness. It's about balance of those things. And I remember the book Tuesdays with Morrie, where Mitch Albom is in a scene where I think he was like a sports reporter or something like that, but he was kicking ass in his career. But he also had a bad relationship at home. And he was, in this particular scene, he tripped and he fell. And his notepad that I guess he was taking notes or just got done doing an interview or whatever, I don't recall, went flying out of his hands. And the book basically reads where he's laying on the pavement with his notes that he dropped, and he's laying there thinking to himself, what the hell am I doing with my life? This guy was so driven by success, defined narrowly, that he just wasn't happy. So anyway, if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you read that story. It's one of the best-selling books of all time. You know that he eventually slowed his career down and he decided to pivot a bit and take some time to interview his old mentor, Morrie, in the last couple weeks and months of Morrie's life. Anyway, guys, the point is that I'm so happy that Catherine brought this up, because I hope that you guys are getting, that message from these videos that, be very careful what you wish for in life. And I hope that I'm sending the message that life is about much more than you think it might be about. In fact, life is about progress. It's about personal power. It's about tapping into the things within yourself that exist right now, that you don't have to go out there and find. They're in you now. But you need to give them a little bit more TLC. You've got to give them a little bit more attention. You need to develop some confidence around them. Now, for me, I've always had this sort of yin and yang thing going on. No surprise, I've been a high achiever since I was a teenager. And achievement and accomplishment has been a big, huge part of my life. And I'm so blessed. But it's also stressful to constantly be grinding around success. What some people may not know about me is that I've always had the yang of that, which is this desire to just be around water. Some of you guys know that I've had a koi pond at my old house, and now, so over the last 15 years, I've had koi ponds. And that's one of the hobbies that I have is basically, taking care of koi and spending time around that. I actually love downtime. I love fishing, and I love to do other things. And Catherine, you make a good point. If we're going to use Google Calendar to dictate where we need to be at any given time, you absolutely should schedule time in your calendar for sort of just to breathe or just to do the things that you love that have absolutely nothing to do with achievement, nothing to do with making money or any of that. It's totally critical. The irony is that I just recall a conversation I had recently with my wife, Robin, where I look at my schedule each week now, and I try to take a half a day where I get to work from home with her, or I get to spend some extra hours with the kids and come home and surprise them. So, awesome. And thank you for bringing that up and forming it as a question, even though it was more of a comment. So the second question came in from my buddy Peter Dunbar, who kind of, if you don't mind, let's go from the personal back to the business side here. He says, how about balancing clients and having the strength to turn down those clients who really aren't a good fit? That's it's not something that entrepreneurs think about a lot. You might complain about, or actually, it's not something you do much about. You might complain about it a lot, but do you really have a strategy for firing your client? Or for that matter, making damn sure that you don't bring on a client that is likely not to be satisfied with whatever products or services you're selling them? This is not an easy question because most businesses fail. We talk about it all the time. The lifeblood of a business is the amount of cash that it could generate. So saying no to a client is in effect saying no to getting more money into the business. However, if we think about it longer term, number one, you need to learn how to say no to clients that you can't serve. In other words, if you're a doctor and the patient comes in and you find out that they have an issue with their gallbladder or that they have an issue with their foot, and you're either a general practice doctor or you do rheumatology or whatever, you do, neurology or something, it's not a fit. And you need to make that clear, and you need to learn how to make very solid recommendations to a specialist or to someone who could solve that person's problem. That metaphor is actually a pretty good one for you to kind of put in your pocket as it relates to scaling a business, because at the end of the day, you want to serve the customer. Remember, we had 5, 6, 7, 8 videos ago, we talked about raving fans. That's a business model. I just recently answered a question. Someone asked, not on AMA, but in one of these, I do this monthly thing for the Young Entrepreneur Council where I answer questions for Inc. and Forbes and all of those magazines. And the question was around this, how do you fire a client? And I said, the same way I'm answering it for you, it's really twofold. One, you don't bring a client on that you can't serve. It'll prevent and mitigate issues coming up later. That's saying no to a client before they come on. Now what happens when they do come on and you either took them on and you shouldn't have, or something goes wrong? I feel very strongly about this. You need to continue to serve the client. You need to swallow your pride. If it requires you to lose money on the relationship, you should. Your focus should be on fulfilling the agreement. However, I'm not a big believer in just issuing refunds. I think most refund requests from a client are emotionally driven. And I think if you could remove the emotions and say, what did we agree on here? What is it you wanted and how do I get it to you as quickly as possible? Like that needs to be the goal. And that may require you to swallow your pride. That may require you to put in extra hours that weren't accounted for in the original agreement. But at the end of the day, it is worth losing money on a client that's leaving you if they could leave happy. It's got to be your goal. So, those are just some thoughts. I hope that they are helpful. Like I said earlier, I'd really like you guys to give more thought to, video 40 and 50 and 60 for the different formats. More than happy and interested really to kind of play with this series and see, if we could have some fun together, or if I could even add more value than I'm adding. Guys, thanks so much. I will see you in video 39.